We'll continue laying out the picture that we have. What I'm going to do is show you how to take a photograph, particularly a photograph that's got a solid color background. So notice this is my Nikon camera. I can place it and it tends to cut out everything that's around it. In other words, I can delete it away. This is called a clipping path or a clipping mask sometimes. When have you last heard of the term clipping mask? What other software did we make a clipping mask out of? In Photoshop, we did a clipping mask. With that one, it looks at the edges of the pixels. In InDesign, sort of the same way. In this case, it's going to look for white areas or areas that are lightest, and will clip away that particular background as well. I'm also going to show you about doing text wrap and how to add in your own little elements into lined text. So the first of all, just so you know, let's see here. I downloaded the InDesign reference manual. This is that PDF that I gave you at the beginning of class. In here, it lists out how to do a clipping path. So I think it's on page 163. Yep, there it is. Page 163 of the InDesign reference is where you can read through and do the same step-by-steps since I don't have a handout. For the text wrap, on page 214 is how to do text wrapping for objects, and this is what I'll show you in just a little bit. So if you need text information, this is where you can find those in those PDFs that I gave you. So let's do a clipping path. I'll close this one out. Let me get my Nikon pictures. Yeah, there we go. Drag those to here. So I'm going to work with just a regular old photo. We'll go from here. I'll even get rid of, let's get rid of these. So the first thing I need to do is to place an image into my document. We've done this before. Get a frame, make a frame for it, Command D to drop it in, and we're going to find just a picture to work with. Let's go with that one. Let's go with this one. Okay. We'll say open. It's placed in here. It's really, really big, so we're going to scale it down to fit. Now here's the problem that I have with this particular camera, and I'll move these out of the way. If I was to place it on top of this picture, see how it's masking out? That's not what we want. What we want to do is to get rid of all this white area, and we can do it within InDesign. Remember that I've got my frame, and if I click on this, I've also got the frame for the actual picture by itself. So that'll come into play in just a second. But here's how to clip out the white area. With the picture selected, you can go to Object, down to, I always forget, there it is, Clipping Path, Options. Clipping Path is what to look for. And when we click on Options, this will bring up our Clipping Options dialog box. It's very, very simple. Change your type to Detect the Edges. And what we want it to do is we want the computer to look for the edges of our picture. It's going to look for the most contrast. So it works better if you have a nice white background and something that's dark on the foreground. If I turn on Preview, you can get a preview of what it looks like. Now check out what we got. Much, much better. What are these little dots around there? Little vector points that if you wanted to, you could move them around. If you need to adjust it, you can always play around with the threshold and the tolerance, but for the most part, for the pictures that we're using, we're going to keep them just like this. If I was, let's say, move the threshold up really, really high, you can see it starts to cut into some of those gray areas. Remember, it's looking for a difference between light and dark. And so keeping that relatively low will give it a little bit better contrast. Same way with the other side. All I'm going to do is say OK. And you can see now it's nice and cut out around the area that I wanted to work with. It's a great tool to have, especially when you have to do a circus type layout, when all the little areas count. The second thing you might want to do is to have your text wrap around an area. So right now, if I had this text, you can see that it's being covered up by whatever the picture is. Even if I set the picture back behind it, you can still see the text on top of it, but I don't want that. I want my text to flow naturally around it. So what I'm going to do is to turn on what's called text wrapping. And we've done this before in other things. Do you remember where to go to do text wrap? It's under type? Actually, it's not under type. I'm sorry. It's under a window. There's text wrap. It's got its own dialog box that it can be opened up. Here's another quick tip. So you've got all the different options there. They're also available on your tool options right here. When you select one, like for instance this first one, notice how it's wrapping around this one. What's it wrapping around? The frame. Yep. I don't want it to go around the frame. What do I want? The picture. Exactly. That's where this one comes. Wrap around the object's shape. That's how we can get that created. Notice how it's really, really close to the very edge of it. What I've always said about having text close to the edge of something. Is that good or bad?
It's bad.
It's very bad. You want to have a little bit of breathing room. The numbers down below, this is how you can get more breathing room. Right now, they're all the same, so I can increase this, and you can see the little line goes around it, and that'll push everything back out of the way. So when I deselect, that looks a lot better. The text is wrapping itself around it. Here's the main thing to remember. You can't do text wrap until you do the detect edges. Does that make, or the clipping mask, excuse me, the turn on a clipping mask. Therefore, you know how it will look and work with that. So if I was to place this on top of there, works out really, really well, and I can wrap my text within it. So let's say I'm just going to start using, let's say I wanted to use this picture. I need to put in its own text. Let's see, so let's actually open up the text that goes with this. This is the Nikon T3100. I know my Nikon cameras, not really, I just read it. So let's open up the description. And there it is, D3100. So I gotta have my title, copy it, make a new text box, paste it. Hey, how do I quickly format that to match all my other ones? What did we create yesterday? Text styling? Paragraph styling, yeah.
Paragraph styling.
Remember, you've got a palette called Paragraph Styles, and when you created one, you were to save that style to this one. So there it is, the title. So all I gotta do is click it, automatically styled. Very, very easy. Let's do the same thing for the body copy. So I'm gonna move this out of the way. Let's make another text box. We're gonna copy this, Command C, go back in, Command V. And how do I quickly style this one? Which one do you think works?
The body.
The body. One click automatically sets it. All I've got to do is adjust the size accordingly. And the final thing is going to be the information about it. I'm moving stuff out of the way because I'm getting way too much on here. And all of this. Copy it, paste it, then when I select it, there it is as description. It's automatically styled exactly the way I want. So in just a few clicks, I was able to place everything inside of it to get it to work really, really well. Okay, so there's the, whoop, I got way too many palettes open. Let's pull these back out of the way so we can, yeah. I do tend to keep things a little bit more together. Okay, so now all I gotta do is start picking and choosing, moving things around. So let's say I wanted this text to wrap around this image. See how it's going on top of it? Well, first of all, let's select our image. Let's give it a clipping mask. So go under Object. What do I go to? clip and path. There's our options. And if I hit preview, usually it will show me what it looks like. Oh, it's not showing. Why isn't it showing? We'll say okay. Object, clip and path, options. Huh. Usually it shows up. For whatever reason it's not. However, I do know it is working. So let's turn on text wrap. Remember, I've got text wrap, palette, and it's that third one that we choose. There we go. Now it's starting to pick up and show everything. Just do be careful that there's no like awkward breaks right there. Maybe I'd want to scooch that up a little bit. And we can place that name. Looks like it'll fit really, really well. Come on. Right in there. Or I could put the name up top. Move this down. At this point, all I'm doing is just moving things around to see to make sure that everything will fit. If nothing's fitting very well, maybe I just need to make my picture a little bit smaller. And so that'll give me a little bit more room to play around with. I like that a lot better. I can move the name down. See, if this name was too close to this one, proximity, people may read that as that's the name of the camera. So I want to give it a little bit of space. Here's the last thing. So here's the specs that I have for this one. They look pretty good. Let's give it a little more room. Move this guy out of the way. What I've done for the other specs is, notice I put a little triangle at the beginning of it. How did I get that triangle? I'll give you a clue. It's not a character. So it's not something that I can type out.
Did you make a shape?
I made a shape of it. Now here's the other thing. It is inside of the text box, so I can treat it like it was a regular character. I can erase it, I can add leading, I can keep it on a line. It's what's called an inline picture or an inline image. It's in the line of the information. Let's make this a little bigger. There we go. So what I'm going to do, and you can do this with any image. I just happen to do it with a small little triangle. I'm going to grab my pen. I'm going to set my fill color to black. Draw off the image that you want. So I'm just going to draw a simple triangle. Let's move it over a little bit, make it a little bit larger. There we go. So let's say I wanted to use that image for everything. We'll move this out of the way just so we can see everything, okay? Now, right now, it's an image all by itself. So if I was to move this text box, it's going to stay exactly where it's at. It's not in any way linked in to where we're at. So what I want to do is I want to select it. We'll make a copy of it. And then choose your type tool and treat it as if it was a regular character. When I go to edit and paste, it pastes it in the line. I can even copy it and paste it and use it over and over again. So this is kind of a way of creating a custom type bullet point to work with. Does that make sense? You can do anything. So if I wanted to draw off my own little starburst type thing, I don't know, I'm just creating something crazy right now. So I've got my picture. I can copy it, and then, whoops, there we go. I can highlight it and paste it into here. It works just as well too. Let's see if I can change the color. I've never tried that before. Nope, can't change the color, can't do anything to it. Once it's done, it is done, okay? But it is linked to this particular image. Just out of curiosity, I want to try something. Okay, sometimes if you change one, it'll change all of them. Let's see if that is true. Nope, never mind. Okay, it's not. So, if you do change one, it will change only that particular one as well. I'm learning along with you. Does that make sense? So, as you're laying this out, if you wanted to add a little bit more repetition to your layout, Notice how I'm repeating those particular styles within everything. You can do that as well. That's pretty much it. Oh, okay, as far as new skills that you're doing. The last thing that I didn't go over yesterday for your layout is I want you to have what I call the eye-catching image. So this is the one thing that I want your eyes to be drawn to when laying it out. I do say to use both of the windmill pictures, so you could perhaps put one on one page spread and the other on another page spread. You can make them any size that you want. You can crop them however that you need. But I do want you to add a line of text on top of it. And if you look on the second page of the handout, by the way, do you have a handout? Okay. At the very top where it says set the eye-catching image, on number 2, one of them needs to say revolutionary design, DSLR power. The other one needs to say affordable luxury, professional control. So let me lay out, say, the other one. So I'm just going to make a picture box. Let's drop in that second picture. I believe I have it in my downloads. There it is. Which one do I press to scale it?
The first one?
Let's try the first one. Hey, that one works. If I did the other one, a little bit smaller. Yeah, the first one tends to work pretty well. Remember, I can crop this. Hey, that still works just as well. I've got that as my main theme. And this one needs to say affordable luxury, professional control. So, UX control. So that's my type. How would I want to place this? I could place it up here. I could place it down here. I've got nice open area right there that could easily fit into. I've got, open areas down here that I can do it. If I did place it up here, that black text reads pretty well, wouldn't you say? If I place it down here, does it read as well? No, it needs a little bit more contrast. Let's try it down here just to see what I can do with it. So I'm going to highlight it. Let's make it bigger, so both of them are on 2 different lines. To keep it consistent, maybe I want to use the same font that I used at the top. I think it was Futura Bold. Looks about right. Can you still read it pretty well?
A little bit better,
But
it's still,
I think it could be a lot better. What would you change it? How would you change it to make it stand out more?
maybe put, like a white text line around, like a
Well,
outline around it.
remember what I said about outlines.
Oh, we don't
Nope,
use that.
don't use outlines. You never want to just use an outline. But I do like the idea of the white. Stick with that. What's the easiest way I can change it?
Go up to the,
Wait, what am I doing?
changing the text to white.
Okay, there you go. Exactly. Yeah, that's what I wanted you to say. Change the
Okay.
text to white.
Okay.
Instead of doing a white outline, just change the text to white.
That's what I was trying.
Bingo. That
It
reads a
brings
lot
out the
better.
white.
Uh-huh.
It kind of brings out the white. It kind of matches up with the white in the.
It does, yeah. It stays within that color scheme. You've got the white areas up here, you've got white down here. It is a little bit difficult to read once the white goes over the yellow areas. Now you can start adding a little bit more contrast. Instead of doing a black outline or an outline, this is where a drop shadow tends to come in handy. And to do that, all of your little effects, just like in Photoshop, look for the little FX, and there's drop shadow. And now I can start to play around with the information with it. With previews checked off, you can see it, and it's looking pretty good. So let's maybe change the position of it. For whatever reason, InDesign does not have the proper controls for their effects. I just don't like them. But we can make it a little bit more, stand out a little bit more. Okay, so let's see what it looks like. Here it was before. Come on. Uh-oh. Well, maybe it didn't do it. Ah. Tell you what, we'll do 2 copies of it. One with and one without a drop shadow. Which one's easier to read? You can definitely read the one with the drop shadow. Why can you read the one with the drop shadow more?
With the drop, it looks like the darkness in the drop shadow is kind of darkening up the flowers just a little bit.
Exactly. It's giving it more contrast. That's the main key. Contrast means you can read it a lot better. Let's even go as far as to say, see what it looked like beforehand. Everything being black. Have to make it small so that we can see it all. Okay, so here it was before. Black on top of it, you know, very difficult to read. Here it is white. Better to read. Here it is with the drop shadow, even better. So it's all about seeing contrast and being able to read for what we're able to. And I kept it very, very simple. I didn't have to add an outline or do anything crazy with the stuff. It's I knew one simple little fix to get the outcome that I was looking for that one. All good? So as you're working, at least by today, have all of your text laid out and formatted, which means all you've got to do is just put it on your page and use your paragraph styles to format everything. Place all your images in there. You can do the little clipping mask for it and start playing around with the design and layout of that. All good? All right, I'm going to hit stop.